And we are live. Welcome everyone, and welcome to this DevSecond community call. I'm Gerald, and I lead the DevSecond community powered by Slick, and I'm very glad to host you today. So today we are going to talk about unpacking building software with AI the secure way. And I know a lot of you are very excited about that because we had so many answers and so many people RSVPing for this live stream. So we are all very excited. So please feel free to say hi and drop a message in the chat. Drop us a line and tell us where you're joining from. So I just wanted to start by setting some context real quick before we get this started, and yeah, maybe explain what we're scheduling this live stream real quick before we dive into the topic. So. Just like 1 year ago, we saw developers playing with coding assistants. I'm talking tools like Copilot, like Claude, Cursor, and many others. Now we're in a phase where most of the, a lot of the applications we're looking at are actually enhanced with AI. It's mostly about data processing, and a lot of the organizations are still leveraging third-party models. But we're expecting soon enough that the landscape will shift towards what we call AI native software development, with organizations training their own models and agents interacting with each other within your software development lifecycle. So this actually raises a ton of questions. And so far, mostly those questions are like, how do I do this? How do I do that? But very soon, we expect those questions to become, how do I do it securely? Indeed. How do you control interactions between agents in your pipeline? What does it mean in terms of, I don't know, authentications, permissions, things like that? How chaotic is it going to become, all of this, in a world where virtually anyone can be an application creator? We call that the era of the, or the vibe coding era. Well, to talk about that today, I am blessed by the presence of my two esteemed colleagues, Sonia and Brian. Hey, Sonia. Hey, Brian, and welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. I see a bunch of people dropping messages from the chat. We have people joining from UK, from France. Hey, France. Uh, people joining from Germany, Serbia. So very exciting. So let me just introduce you folks to the people in the chat. Sonia, starting with you. You're a staff developer advocate at Snake, right? You are 5 times a GitHub star, 5 times in a row. Isn't that impressive? Isn't that cool? All hail, Sonia. You're such a star. You're also a Open UK Security Advisory Board member, right? And also 5 times top contributor for Free Code Camp. Yeah, forget anything?
No, that's fine. No,
Yeah, that's
I'm really glad to be here with you and Brian's. Yeah, we're gonna have fun during this session.
yeah, we have a lot to learn together. That's cool. Yeah. Brian, thanks a lot for joining too. Brian, you're also a staff developer advocate for Sneak. And you know what, Brian? While I was preparing for this session, I actually asked an AI to come up with, some sort of description for you. And
Uh-oh.
what I got, and I loved what I got. What I got was they call you the AI whisperer of YouTube. AI whisperer of YouTube. I love it because it's true. You're actually the secret sauce behind Sneak's incredible YouTube channel. For those in the chat, I really encourage you to go check this channel out. So it's Sneak's YouTube channel, and there you will see all of the countless videos and shorts that Brian posted there, where you test all of the you're basically tasting all of the latest tools, all of the new features, etc., coding assistance, etc., and many other topics. Yeah, welcome to the show, Brian.
Yes, thanks for having me. And yes, there
Yeah.
is plenty of content on there. It's been fun working on that.
Yeah, just looking at the the little icons of those videos, the little pictures that you posted is just fun. Yeah. Anyways, folks, this event is brought to you by DevSecon, and I actually have a banner here to advertise that DevSecon is one of the world's leading DevSecOps community. You can join it from this link that you're seeing on your screen. We have roughly 20,000 members with us. At DevSecon, you can find local chapters. We have local chapters a little bit everywhere, where we schedule local meetups in real life. So come join us and enjoy real life events with us. We also have this amazing Discord server where people can hang out and chat, ask questions from each other. We also have a flagship event coming soon this year in late October. So plenty of content for everyone. So feel free to join us. Anyway, let's get this started. And yeah, folks, feel free to drop questions or comment in the chat. We're here, we're live, we have experts with us, and we're here to answer any question you might have. So feel free to drop us a line, share thoughts, questions, whatever. So let's get this started officially. I wanted to get this started by talking about the adoption curve of AI, actually. And let me actually start with a quick poll for the chat here, folks. How far advanced are you in developing software with AI? If you're in the chat, feel free to drop us a line and tell us, are you using coding assistants? Are you already experimenting with agents? Are you training your models? What does it look like? And Sonia, Brian, a question for you. My first question for you would be, this is a pretty fast-paced environment, isn't it? Things are going super, super fast. How far advanced do you think we are I would call it the adoption curve of building software with AI? I guess my question is both, how far advanced we are, and how do you see that evolving over the next couple of months, I would say.
Brian, do you want to start on that one?
Sure, I can start. I didn't want to jump in
That's fine.
where we talk over
Yeah.
each other type of thing. If you had asked me this maybe 2-3 weeks ago, Gerald, I would have said, maybe it'd be a slow adoption, because typically when it comes to companies, like moving from one version of a programming language to the next one, they're slow to make that move, right? But after going to an event recently, an AI-focused event, I heard from many companies that are typically companies that you wouldn't expect to move quickly on any new technology, like banks and big enterprises. They have really jumped headfirst into using AI and are leaps and bounds farther than I expected them to be. One all the way went as far as buying their own supercomputer to develop their own models based on within their confines and their governance around how they want to use AI, right, within the company. That way they have full control over it. So I'm quite surprised by that, and I think we are pretty far advanced in the adoption curve of it.
That's actually surprising. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you on that. You could expect that from smaller organizations, startups, and things like that, starting experimenting with that. But yeah, on the enterprise level, that's actually kind of fascinating. I guess. I know you folks have heard about the AI maturity model, and maybe this is something we could also briefly touch on and explain how it works and what it's all about. I guess we could basically explain this evolution with that as well. Do you want to go for a quick explanation on that?
Yeah, I can start with the AI maturity model. So you would expect in an organization to have this kind of measurement tool that would help you evaluate your proficiency in incorporating AI into your day-to-day operations, just to guide you from the basic pilots to have a starting point to enterprise-wide integration, and just to have that continuous improvements. So if we're talking about AI maturity model, you would have different stages. Obviously, you would start with the first one, the ad hoc initial stage, where you would potentially experiment with some of these this technology. I've seen on the chat some mentions, some IDs. I'm seeing Windsurf. I'm seeing also a couple of LLMs with Claude and Gemini and others. So it's more like the ad hoc, the initial phase would be to experiment with those pilot projects without any formal governance or formal strategies. And then you can go from there into the different stages. So it would be opportunistic, systematic, integrated, up to optimized. This would be the where your organization would leverage AI for everything innovation related. You'd have AI implemented within your automated pipelines. You'd have more mature and also ethical and risk framework as well, like more maturity around the governance side as well. So that would help the enterprise having at which stage they are, if they're starting their journey or if they're well established.
Thanks for clearing this out. It's definitely helpful. We see in the chat indeed that a bunch of people are studying building stuff, so even like very complex things like that till here. Using house agents already for financial analysis sounds like fascinating. Congratulations on that, Abdul. Looks like great stuff here. Okay, let's move on to another topic here. So there's no denying there's some sort of hype around AI, right? Some say AI is the new Web3, right? and with AI come those buzzwords, and I'll just I'm just guilty as charged here because I use some of those buzzwords when I schedule this session as well. But just wanted to use the opportunity to break down some of the basic context for the audience here. We hear things about vibe coding. What is it about? We hear things about agentic AI. Can we explain that a little bit? Maybe also explain some of the basic concepts like what's an MCP server, and how far advanced are we to seeing that become an industry standard as well. So what are the basics we need to cover for people starting out here?
I can start with vibe coding and Brian, you can cover MCP and Agentic AI. So Gerald, if you just share the screen. I have the original, the person behind the vibe coding term, the origin coined by Andre, and he's the one who coined the term. So I just wanted to have that definition. And it's interesting how he's actually defining. You can see that there's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponential, and forget that the code even exists. It's possible because the LLMs, a class of the LLM, but are getting too good. Also, I just talked to Composer because he was vibe coding using vocal inputs. And
vocal inputs. Wow.
Yeah. And you can see here he was asking for the dumbest things like decrease the padding on the sidebar by half because I'm too lazy to find it. And that's the interesting part. I accept always. That's an important side of vibe coding. I don't read the diffs anymore. When I get error messages, I just copy paste them with with no comments. Usually that fixes it. It's quite lucky on that one, but we can come back on the debugging struggles during that. You can see it's not really coding. It's just I see stuff, I say stuff, I run stuff, I copy paste stuff, and it mostly works. So if you're asking what is vibe coding, it's basically how does their code work? No idea, but it's working, and this is what a vibe coder should look like. So this is just.
And what's the golden rule? If it's working, don't touch it.
Are those AI generated images though?
Yes, there are.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Sonia. Vibe coding is definitely something we hear a lot about. How about we touch a little bit on agentic AI and maybe agent-to-agent interactions and things like that, and those protocols surrounding it, and we can talk about the security aspect of that later.
Yeah. Well, I think agentic AI kind of goes hand in hand with vibe coding. It's a good segue from there because the agentic AI is the idea that it's going to be autonomous and take control over what it's going to do. It's going to take a task basically and then do everything it can, iterate on that on its own to try and complete that task. That's the idea behind it. It's running as its own agent, right? It's agency. And we see a lot of that available via tools like GitHub Copilot, Claude's CLI tool, Claude Code, just to name a couple off the top of my head. And then more recent one that was announced at Google's I/O event just last week, was it, right? I think it was last week, the Google Jules, which is browser-based even, so that you don't have to have it in your IDE, but instead you're going in the browser, you give it access to a specific repo you want to do the work on, and then hand it a task, prompt it with the task, and then it runs off and does that thing and opens up a PR. So lots of different angles for agentic AI to be introduced in the development workflow. But that's the short of it of what agentic AI is in that sense from a developer standpoint. But it could be, even more generalized. Maybe you have an agent that converts a spreadsheet data into something else, into a graph maybe, or something like that, right? Like that's running off and doing it on its own in an agentic way, right?
Yeah, no, that's thanks for making that simple to understand for everyone, Brian. That's definitely very helpful for the audience here. Sonia, I know you wanted to share some other aspects, if I'm not mistaken.
I wanted to share a horror story when vibe coding goes
Oh,
wrong.
yeah. Okay, let's go for horror stories. That's fun.
People who actually are on Twitter, on X, they might be familiar with that one, but I thought it was funny to share that one. So I've removed the author of the tweets, but just wanted to also show you how vibe coding could go wrong. So here we have that person who decided to build a SaaS product using AI and using vibe coding. So here we can see that he actually doesn't have any programming background. He's just leaning on cursor. You can see 0 hands written codes. AI is the builder, and apparently people is paying for a SaaS. So good for him. We can see that it's quite successful. But unfortunately, that when you're a little bit condescendent on Twitter, you can that things could go wrong. So people started to attack his application. You can see here someone's trying to find
human nature
in my app, and I did put a nice screenshot because there are other people were cursing when they were putting stuff on his DB. As you can imagine, I love the idea of he just vibe coded his way out of a cyber attack. I would love to do this. I don't know how we can vibe code. That's an interesting one. But also you can see that in one of the tweets he said that, guys, I'm under attack. And if you do have a little bit of developer background, security background, you can see what happened actually. You can see random things are happening, maxed out usage on API keys. We can assume that he actually hard-coded keys. People bypassing the subscription, so potentially that he didn't set up correctly the authentication process. Random on database. Yeah, you can imagine this also. He's saying he's not technical, so it's taking him longer than usual to figure out. And this is also one of the issue with vibe coding. If you don't have programming background, it will take a long time actually to know what is happening. So he decided to stop sharing what he did publicly on X. But you can see that after that, half the internet is trying to break his app. So they're doing it for fun. Well, it depends. Hackers it will depend. Hackers don't do it, but they can do it for fun or not for fun. But and then he decided to shut down his application. Cursor just keep breaking other parts of the code, and we might be coming back on that. But usually, if you vibe code, it will give you everything on one file, so it's harder to debug and see where the bug is coming from. And yeah, you guys were right. I shouldn't have deployed unsecure code to production. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that. But apparently he's rebuilding it in 30 days. So that was one horror story. There's another one, a quick one. Someone is attacking now my database with 1,000 new sign up per 5 minutes. So it's just basically a DDoS. They say, bro, can you please not do that? Thanks. But yeah, this is some examples of how vibe coding can go wrong on that.
Yeah. Love those
I appreciate these folks being so public about all that, and because it's a good lesson learned for everybody. It's an example to show.
No, I mean, you're right. We're actually lucky to see that because we're all learning from it, right?
And one other thing I would call out with this is it doesn't have to be non-technical people that are doing this vibe coding. There are people that are technical, that are knowledgeable in development, that can be doing vibe coding as well. I think the key distinguishing piece when it comes to vibe coding is that, like, instead of you leading the AI is leading you. And if that's the case, then you can run into trouble like this, right?
100%, 100%. That's actually a
good one, Brian, because I do have programming background, and Gerald, if you just want to share, I have an example where actually the AI was gaslighting me on that. I was pretty sure that I was doing the correct thing, but so I was developing an application, and I wanted to prettify the front end. So I've asked if they can recommend some UI framework. So as you can see here, highlighted, it was they recommended Chakra. It doesn't really matter for the background, but I looked at the documentation, and some of the components don't exist or aren't existing on the on that page. So I actually prompted from the documentation. They don't exist. And here you can see this was from the thought process. You know, when you click on a little arrow, it will give you the thought process. And here you can see that the AI tried to be nice, like acknowledge the user diligence in checking the documentation. Thanks, Gemini, for that. And by the way, Gemini is great. It actually did help me to enhance the application, but in that case, it was just gaslighting me. So it's like gently correct the user interpretation. Look at this this correct link. So I kept the link on the side, but reassure them that those components are actually there exists. They're real components. And ask them if you can recheck the specific component documentation. So I did, Gemini, and I got a 4 page. So yeah, completely hallucinated one.
No, thanks for sharing again. I think it's actually a great segue to the next phase of this this discussion today. I wanted to touch briefly on what you think are the key challenges that people are facing when starting or building stuff with AI, building software with AI. I hear a lot of questions about, and by the way, folks in the chat, feel free to drop your questions here. We're here to answer them and or to share thoughts about the tools you're using and things like that. But yeah, I guess my question for you, Sonia and Brian, what do you think are the key challenges that people are facing when they get started? For example, how do you get started? How do you get started at all? What are the key steps? Is there any good tool set that people should be looking for, whenever they get started? And yeah, obviously, how do you do that securely? Are there any best practices you'd like to share?
I think in regards to key challenges, first and foremost is just keeping up with everything, right? Like, it seems like every almost day something new is coming up and being revealed or being updated and becoming the next best model or next best tool and that type of thing. And like, Sonia, I know you come from a web development background. We all in the community used to make fun of ourselves because there would be a new web framework, NPM package or something like that that's super popular that everybody should start moving to. But that was only happening, I don't know, maybe every few weeks, every month. Yeah, every few months. With AI, it is happening at such a rapid rate that even like, we were talking about the YouTube videos covering AI, like I'm struggling to keep up with and getting videos out in time for when these new announcements come out for changes in the ecosystem. So I think that is a huge challenge of like the analysis, not analysis paralysis, but the I forget the phrase for it, but it's basically when you have too many options, you get stuck trying to figure out which option to go with, right? Like, which model do I use? Which tool do I use? And right now, there, in my opinion, I don't think there is a clear, one that's way leaps and bounds better than the other to use. It's kind of just pick one and run with it for now and see how your experience goes. And if you don't like that, then you can switch it up, right? So that's one key challenge I would say is out there. Sonia, what do you think? What else?
Yeah, I completely agree on that. It feels like a little bit of FOMO. It's like so many news and announcements.
Yeah, totally. It feels like that, huh?
It was insane with Google announcement, with Anthropic new cloud model, with other announcements. Yeah, it was crazy. What I would say probably for not for starting with vibe coding, but just starting with AI coding in general. Some useful skills would be to know how to read code, to understand what the AI is giving you. Maybe probably not that deep understanding of the programming language, but just at least knowing how to read code, also know how to debug code. This will help you greatly because you might end up in an infinite loop, like copy pasting the error. If you don't know what's going on, you'll just ending in this infinite loop. Also, I think you don't need to have all of those shiny tools to start if you want to. If you're a little bit too afraid with Cursor, with Windsurf, you know what to start. Start with Gemini, with Claude, with ChatGPT, with just a simple prompt. Just familiarize yourself with the AI and what kind of output you'd get. And also, Gerald, if you could share, if you don't know which, this is with Google, but if you don't know which model to use, they've actually you have this table where you can have which kind of model is used for which kind of use case. So this would depend if you're doing text, audio, and others. There's just keep in mind that some models are more accurate or better use for different use case. So usually those companies, I think there's the same with OpenAI and Anthropic. You should find those tables that help you just to let you know for the use case. This could be one pointer, I would say.
Yeah, that's actually a great resource. Would you mind sharing the link in the chat, maybe for the people watching here?
Sure, I'll share it with you, Gerald, because I don't think I have access to.
Oh, seriously?
Let me just share it.
You didn't give your permissions? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm all for permissions. Let me actually share that in the chat real quick. I see a question from Abdel here, so let's take it right now. On behalf of young folks, right? Thanks for speaking for the young folks, Abdel, by the way. Do you think the priority should be more for learning deepening programming or learning more deepening about the AI tools that we can get on top of it? It's I guess you answered part of that, Sonia, when you said that you still need some basic programming skills to get started.
I don't know what you think, Brian, but I think you could leverage AI to also help you learn programming language, like to have some learning path. You could leverage those LLMs to give you that. I don't think it's about tools more as like you mentioned, Brian, for web development. It's more about the knowledge of the programming language, the skill more than the tools. And nowadays we're talking about Gemini, Claude, and other LLMs. Potentially tomorrow we're going to talk about other models or other tools. So yeah, I don't know, Brian, your take on that one.
This one's it's a tough question to answer because we don't know where things are going to go just yet, right? Like we're still in, I think, even though we've seen a lot of advancement and rapid growth in the space, I still think we're in very early days of these things. Again, this is just my personal opinion and speculation on this. And from experts that I've been kind of listening to and influencing my opinion here or my answer in this, it seems like there will still be a need to understand programming and at a pretty deep level, because you are we need humans to review and understand what these AI code generation tools are producing, because if you don't, we already talked about and showed examples of like what's happening. Now, will the AI get better and be able to start correcting itself? Sure, but like I think there's still going to be a need for humans to connect the dots for things and like come up with architecting the overall programming application. So there might be, as a possible thing that happens here in terms of like, what if I were to start new today, definitely need to know the basics of programming so that you can understand the output of this stuff, but also something that typically happens through hands-on experience in a career. As you grow in your career and get more senior, you do less of that hand coding and you do more of what I was talking about before, solution architecture and engineering that way, and figuring out how to set up the overall system that you want to build for an application for a certain business use case, that type of thing. And so what I think is going to happen or shift potentially, again, influence based on experts in the industry that are a little bit more in tune than I am with things, is it's going to be a shift from doing all the manual hand typing of the code or building out the functionality and leaning more towards the architectural point of view and like the creative thinker of how to put all this stuff together is where things can go. So getting experience of like what are the best practices and patterns to use, that type of thing for any programming language is going to be applicable to this new area that we're moving towards.
Yeah, completely agree on that, Brian. I think skills around architecture, system designs, decisions, being a little bit opinionated on the tech stack, having an idea of where your application, what it should look like, will help you. And I'm pretty sure for those of you who vibe coded in the audience, if you know a little bit more about system designs, architecture, your tech stack, you would have better output, better results for your applications. There's also, so that would be on the programming side, but there's also a bit of better understanding of how these tools are working behind the scene and the limitations, as well, to also reduce things around hallucinations as well. So for example, if we're taking Gerald, if you can just
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just chatting with someone.
That's fine. I apologize. It's only Cloud 3.7. I didn't update that one, but this is just to mention the context windows, because some of you who are familiar with vibe coding or AI coding, you know that at some point we would hit that limits of context window, and then potentially you have a little bit more. We're struggling like debugging or having some hallucination. This is really important to understand, because the more we put in the input, so should it be your code base, the documentation, the rules that you're adding on Cursor or Windsurf, if you're plugging some MCPs, so this will take also on the context window, and potentially will affect the quality of your output. So this is one limitation to have in mind. And coming back to the example that I showed with the UI library, this was based on the cutoff, the knowledge base, the cutoff dates, because you know that all these models are trained until a certain date. So you do have the ability to navigate on the to browse the internet. But Gerald, if you just put it
this one,
just to give you an idea, because this is already outdated. Brian, you're right. Like, look, we're not even talking about Cloud 3.7 anymore. But here you have a few examples of the cutoff dates. And for my example, and why the AI was hallucinating, is because I was looking at the documentation for version 3, but Gemini was mentioning version 2 of the library, so that's why there was discrepancies and differences. So this is also something that we need to keep in mind, and that's.
Yeah, totally. A lot of complexity. I see a bunch of questions and comment on the chat. I think that Felipe just hit the nail on the head here. So many ways to build different stuff. Yeah, there's no good recipe to do stuff the right way. I saw a couple of questions coming up as well. I think that you answered that one from Andre. Actually, Brian, a little bit earlier, what's the best model for coding? You said it's more a matter of finding the one that suits you, and just sticking to it and making sure you're actually using it the right way, and just catch up with the evolution of this model. So it's not like I don't want to speak for you or on your behalf, Brian, but I remember from your comment, it was probably more about finding the right model for you and just, sticking to it and growing with it, right?
Right. Yeah. But we talked about the YouTube channel, and as part of a series on the YouTube channel, I've been taking each of these new announced models that come out, whether it's a new version of an existing model or a completely new one that somebody else announced. Like the most recent one was from Windsurf, their SWE1 model. And I give them the same one-shot prompt of like, just build me a node app that's secure, that can do CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete for a note-taking application, right? And seeing what the output does for that. And for the most part, all of them do about the same is the point of that, right? And so in that regard, like if that's how you're going to be using the model, you're not really going to see a significant difference. Where I think things can start getting a little bit more, you see more of a difference, is if you start, instead of doing that approach, which we can talk about this, of like how best to prompt for AI code generation. If you're doing this one-shot approach, it's not really the best way to do it. I'm intentionally doing that for the purpose of the videos and testing these things out. But if you're doing it more iteratively, like more isolated changes with these models, you might see better results with certain models than others, in my opinion, with that. So like the latest and greatest that the community was touting as the best one was Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and then also Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro. But I mean, again, I think even if you try, like my whole thing is like, try for yourself, see for yourself first, giving the same prompt to all the models that you're interested in, look at the output from each of them and see which one gives you the best output. I'm willing to bet you're going to get very similar results from all of them. And that's why I say just pick one that works for you so that you're not subscribing to all these different ones all at once too. Save yourself some money on that and you know, run with it and see how well, how much more you can build with that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I just shared the link to the YouTube channel for everyone in the chat here. So feel free to go browse through all of the videos, and please hit the little thumb icon and subscribe. We're appreciating every sign of love and support and what they call TLC, tender loving care, for the channel.
Brian, just to go back to what you said on prompt engineering, that's also a useful skill to do secure prompt engineering, because with just a couple of word change, you would have a completely different outputs, and potentially having security included in your outputs. So this is something that also that the developers, also those who are at their beginning of their journey using AI, with actually explore doing better prompt engineering. That's a great skill to have. Just a quick one, because I forgot about one of the the new attack vector for these. Could be leveraged with that.
Do you want me to share your slide here?
Just a quick one.
That's a good one.
I don't know if the audience is familiar with typo squatting or dependency confusion, but basically for typo squatting, an attacker would register a malicious content that will resemble on the naming. So use the naming convention and trying to resemble the legit package. So instead of typing npm install react with one e, you're typing two e's, you will download the malicious package. And here what happened using a new vector with LM. So let's say ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever LMs you're using, here you would see that the malicious user, both the normal user and malicious user, they'll prompt the LM to generate code, and will generate code in a package. But this package is completely hallucinated. It doesn't exist. So the malicious user will take this opportunity to create a malicious package and register it to the registry, push it to the registry. And so the normal user will prompt the LM and will get this mention of the package X. And going through the registry, we'll see that the package is existing now because the malicious user pushed it. And it will download it, but unfortunately, it will download a malicious package, malicious code. So this is also a new vector because of hallucination and hallucinated packages. Malicious user can take this opportunity to actually create those hallucinated packages and take advantage on normal users. So we're seeing new vectors of attack. So this is one of them.
Yeah, no, that's actually great. And just wanted to use this opportunity to actually, there are a lot of questions in the chat. So thank you very much for being this active. And I'm sure we're going to be able to take all of them. But just join us on Discord and we can keep the chat going, of course. But still, I wanted to make sure we touched on that. Hector has a great question here. What to do when deploying this code in production? How do you ensure security? And we're here. We're here to make sure that people keep the DevSecOps best practices in mind, So a couple of basic principles you folks would like to share about that?
Brian, go for it.
Yeah, I would say the first and foremost, it's got to be having humans in the loop at some point in the process, in the workflow. I mean, it's no different than what you should be doing today, whether it's code generated by a human or generated by AI. You have to have people reviewing that, making sure that it fits your patterns and practices and standards that you put in place for your project, your team, your company. That is number one. And then number two, you can start using tools that can help you automate some of that and detect things that you would normally have to manually do. But, there's a company called Sneak that can help out with that, a lot of that.
Good. Well, thanks for sharing, Brian. Sonia, I see that you're preparing some additional slides here. Do you want me to share that?
Sorry, this is not a live hack, but this is just an example.
You got so many slides to share.
No, that's.
I like it. You got to show, right, instead of just talking about it.
She's a 5x GitHub star. We have to give it to her, right?
So I'll
In a
take an
row.
example with Windsurf here. So if some of you are using Windsurf for cursor, you can have the Sneak ID integration. You can see patch here on the left side.
Yay.
And here, so this code has been AI generated. And this was just to create a simple Express application. So as Brian mentioned, I've tried with different models, and they were all giving the same kind of output because there's not 1,000 ways to do application. But I actually run it using Sneak code, and here you can see that there is an XSS with this solution. So if I didn't run it through a security tool, I wouldn't have that visibility. But knowing that, and this solution, actually, the res.send is not a good one. You should probably enforce the content type to have text plain and to avoid having JavaScript or script injected on the other client side. So having that visibility from the IDE from the start, because we're spending a lot of time on the IDE, is that's a good start for also for new developers, having that habit of having those tools that will help you having the visibility and code more securely. So just quick tip.
No. Thanks again for sharing, Sonia. Again, a ton of questions in the chat. What's the best way to avoid hallucinations? I see Rainer saying, I just wanted to call this out because I don't see me switching to have no control on the code, and I think it probably mirrors a lot of other people thinking as well here. So. Still a lot of questions coming up. I wanted us to actually share a quick list of do and done for beginners, for advanced user. I'm not sure we covered all of that already. Do you feel like there are things we should mention at this stage, Brian and Sonia? A couple of do's and done for beginners, for advanced user, or have we already covered all of that and we can move on to the next part? I just don't want us to repeat the same things.
I would say I feel like a lot of what we've been talking about is maybe like maybe coming off to people as like, don't use AI, don't, you know what I mean? Like, I want to make clear that that's not my intention, and I don't believe that's Sonia's intention or anybody here. I think you do want to embrace AI and start getting your hands on it to try it out and get experience with it so that you can stay with.
Let me show my t-shirt at this stage, right?
There you go.
That's me. I use AI.
Well, that but I mean, as a general bit of advice, as like a do thing, is like approaching with anything with technology here is having what's called like a growth mindset, something that I learned in the past in my career, of like, instead of being fixed mindset and thinking that like, I only know this one programming language, I know it through and through, which is great that you know that, but being just stuck to that and like clinging to that as being the only thing that you are capable of doing. You are capable of learning more. You are capable of growing and getting better at these things. And this phase that we're in with AI right now is just another iteration of that you are capable of getting a grasp on and using it to your advantage.
Yeah, and I think that that's actually a good segue to maybe the next session. See Kim's question here, which I think is a good introduction to the next topic I wanted us to discuss. What specific security measures have you implemented to allow developers to engage in vibe coding using AI assistants, collaborative tools, and stuff like that? So we just discussed a bunch of that. We talked about
just to add a quick one.
Yay! There you are.
If you want to learn more about vulnerabilities, I would strongly advise to have a look at the latest version, the second iteration of the OS Top 10 LM for application. And here you can see there are a few good vulnerabilities to have a look at. The most important one, Brian, you were mentioning that's just like the classic security hygiene that we should have, like regardless if it's coming from AI, from developers. We've seen injection, we've seen supply chain insecurity, and here we're just applying it to AI. Misinformation, this will cover hallucinations or over reliance, because we're mentioning the human in the loop thing. But coming back to your question, Kim, I was thinking also, if you're talking in the context of an organization, we're seeing that that concept of shadow AI. If you're familiar with shadow IT, this would be your InfoSec and the IT department sending
100%,
out
yeah.
lists of vetted tools that you could use. But for Shadow AI, there would be a vetted list of AI tools that your developers could use. If they're using other tools, that would be Shadow AI. Like your organization won't know about that. So having those policies and guidelines in place, having awareness sessions around how you could use AI in the context of your organization, not putting PI or your IP or PI, those kind of information within the code directly. So having those guidelines and policies would also enforce and help developers. So not to be like a blocker, just do it gradually, and you can pilot one tool and set your policies around those.
No. And I liked
really quick to add to that.
Oh,
Gerald,
sure, please. Yeah, please go ahead.
To help answer that question too is education and training for the organization, right, Sonia?
Yeah, definitely.
I know a lot of this is coming from that presentation that I know we use here at the company, but yeah, like stuff like this, having developers, employees getting trained on becoming more aware around AI and the uses of it, what's permitted, what's not permitted at the company, having that kind of stuff in place to make them aware of that instead of them just running off and figuring things out on their own and not knowing what is allowed or permitted by the company or not. That will help alleviate some of these issues that you can run into.
I just wanted to use this opportunity to actually share a link. I'm not exactly sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the link is learn.sneak.io.
Yes.
Am I correct here?
That was going to be the next thing I was going to say. A great resource to share with people.
A great bunch of resources for everyone. Even if you're not a Sneak user, you will find a ton of resources, a ton of lessons, a learning path, courses. You learn about the common vulnerabilities and how to avoid them. You will learn about the key concepts we just mentioned and things like that. So feel free to use it. It's free. It's for everyone.
Gerald, do you want to share quickly so people can see it if they don't have access to it?
Hey, cool. You're even better than I am. You're showing your screen.
We do have, we do have a lot of lessons on if you want to upskill on that end. So we're talking about, I've mentioned cross-site scripting. So for example, if we're taking the cross-site scripting, depending on your ecosystem, you can select the ecosystem. Everything is sandbox. You don't need to install anything on your machine. You can replay the payload directly on the little window and follow the scenario. And if you don't know where to start, we actually do have some learning path. Because today we're discussing about Gen AI. We do have the OS Top 10 LM and Gen AI, and if you're doing all of the 10 lessons, you'll have a cool certificate at the end that you can share.
Yay!
So yeah, that's
a badge. Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Folks, time is flying, and there's a last part of this conversation I would like us to cover, and I see George's question here, which is actually, to me, a great segue. George is asking, how do you see AI sabotage as a threat? And I guess my more generic question to you, and maybe we can answer this one on the way, would be, again, right now we're talking about, a couple of months ago, we were just talking about, developers using coding assistants to generate some code and how that got them to ship faster. So code hitting your pipeline faster, and how security teams have, issues catching up. Now we're talking about vibe coding. And I guess then in a couple of months from there, if not already today, we'll talk more and more about agentic AI and, autonomous interactions within your pipeline, within your whole SDLC. It actually raises a ton of questions in terms of security. And I guess my question was, and I mean, George's question here is also part of that. There are new threats. Actually, we are facing some new threats, like people tampering with models and stuff like that. So how do you see security evolving in the next couple of months or the next couple of years due to this how can I say that, incredible evolution in our ecosystem?
I think
let's go first.
Okay, I think Sonia kind of touched upon this with the OWASP LLM or top 10, right? Like there's some stuff that are things that we are already used to when it comes to security considerations that we need to look out for. So it's kind of tried and true, and we have things in place to help deal with that, whether it's supply chain or misinformation, that type of stuff. And then there are some things that are new that we need to adapt to, and having resources like OWASP Top 10 LLMs there to help us raise awareness around that stuff and offer up options and abilities on how to approach mitigation for those things is a great starting point, in my opinion, at least, to handle these rapid changes that are happening right now. In addition to that, there are some other things, but let me segue over to Sonia to see what you have to add to that.
No, I completely agree with the OWASP Top 10 is a great starting point. Also, we've seen that actually new attack vectors with the example with the stop squatting. This is completely new, new attack that we couldn't imagine a couple of years ago. So there will be potentially new vulnerabilities around the AI ecosystem that we're not aware of yet. But I would say, as a starting point, do have a look at the OWASP Top 10 and also other frameworks. So you can have a look at the MITRE AI framework, the NIST AI framework. This would be more on the governance side. So if you're looking for a framework and a starting point, you have something a little bit more compliance on the compliance side. Just. You can start with the OWASP Top 10 just to have no,
that is definitely a good starting point. And to your point, I really think that we're only just scratching the surface here. It's things are going to evolve and to evolve fast. And Georgie, maybe AI sabotage is not right now one of the most common threats that you will be facing, but in a couple of months from now, this will probably become more and more common. I mean, even things like prompt injection. There's a ton of things that people can actually leverage to act with malicious intentions on your code or on your apps. So I think it's good to keep all of those resources in mind that Sonia and Brian mentioned, because communities like OWASP would make sure to keep on top of that. The learn section from the SNCC website as well. So the threats of today are not those of tomorrow. It's going to evolve. So it's important to stay on top of that. Definitely.
I think something else to keep in mind in this regard, Gerald, and then anybody else that's thinking about this, is it's essentially not much, really no different than security space in general. Like whether it's AI that's happening, or cloud, or just regular development, like security, the expectation is that, there is no expectation to be 100% secure, is what I'm trying to get at, right? The idea is you set up as best your defenses as you can, and you have plans and processes in place to approach and respond to threats when or if they do happen to you, type of thing. So having that full spectrum outlook on your security posture is important, regardless of what technology or how things are evolving in this industry.
Wise words, Brian. Well spoken. Right.
Just a quick one, also, because we're talking about AI sabotage and also prompt injection.
I love that one.
Prompt injection and also data poisoning. A good website, if you want to learn more about prompt injection, have a look at Gandalf from Lakura. So quickly, this is kind of like a gamified way of using prompt injection. So you try to have Gandalf giving you the password. So for level 1, obviously it's an easy one. You say, what's the password? But obviously there's different levels, and it will be more and more difficult actually to get the password from Gandalf. And here you can see the importance of having those security guardrails if you're using some models. We've seen some examples where, for example, you had a car manufacturer who actually embedded an LM within their chatbots, and using prompt injection, the security researcher was able to actually place an order with a car with a budget of $1 using prompt injection because of that. So you can see that if companies are not setting security guardrails for prompt injection, for example, this would be one way to fix it. But this is a good way to also upskill if you want to learn more about prompt injection. And the funny thing with Lakura, they used to have a dashboard with all of the prompts that people were inputting. Here, unfortunately, people did put some sensitive data, so they had to remove the dashboard. But if you're interested in looking the different prompts. If you want to learn more about prompt injection, all the data set, they put everything on Hugging Face. Obviously, they clean the data, so you won't find sensitive information. But if you're interested in that, in prompt injection, you can find it on Hugging Face as well. I'll share it, Gerald, so you can.
Yeah. Please, let's drop that in the chat. Gandalf is great one. I'm happy to brag that I actually reached the last level, which shows you that you don't have to have a very deeply technical mind. It just has to be tuning and shrewd, and you can get there. But yeah, thanks for sharing all of that, Sonia.
One last
Brian,
thing on this, Gerald, if we got some time for me to speak to this,
we've got a small minute left. Yeah,
maybe to put people at ease is that as this space is maturing, so is the security response to these things. And like and the AI sabotage question from, I think, George or Georgi mentioned in the chat there reminded me of this, that fairly recently a security researcher, I believe, took like a DeepSeek model, and this is related to, I forget which OWASP top 10 it is, but it's data and model poisoning. And they were able to modify that model, the DeepSeek model, such that when somebody asked for code generation, it would also inject some malicious code in there. And then they took a way to like visualize the difference between the normal DeepSeek model and the altered DeepSeek model. And while to the human eye, it's not clear, like you can clearly distinguish between the two, I think we will evolve and develop tools that can help
100%
identify that type of thing. Kind of like how we have hashes to make sure that the download for a piece of software we might be installing on our PC is coming from the true source that we want it to be. I think we're going to see things like that evolving and maturing in this space.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again for sharing, Brian. We've just reached the end of this session. It's almost time to say goodbye. I just wanted to thank everyone here, and maybe ask everyone who is still in the chat to please give us a rating here. Just drop a comment in the chat. We'd like to know how good we're doing and if we're doing well or not, and if we need to improve stuff. So let's say that on a scale from 1 to 5, if you had to rate this session or recommend it to friends, how well would we perform? Just leave us a comment, and we'll be happy to take that into account for the future sessions. We learned a ton of things together. Thank you, Felipe. You're very generous. We learned a ton of things together. We covered some of the ground principles. We covered a bunch of the buzzwords. We had some great advice about security. Fantastic questions from the audience. Thank you, everyone, for being so active. Just remember that you can join the DevSecOn community even whenever you want. We are more than happy to welcome you again. I'm very sorry that we weren't able to take all of the questions in the chat today, but please feel free to join us on Discord and actually keep the conversation flowing. We're here to answer you as well. There are other members from the community who will help you, like senior security practitioners are there as well. So we're happy to help and answer any questions. Our next community call is scheduled for late June, if I'm not mistaken. It's something around June the 20th. Maybe the 19th, I'm not sure. So please stay tuned. And we're going to talk about automating security checks in your pipeline at the age of AI. And to chat about that, we'll welcome a couple of experts, including someone from Circle CI. And we'll talk about what a pipeline looks like at the age of AI. So stay tuned. Oh, Felipe, you want to get the link for the Discord server. So let me just share that one. It's going to be much easier. So just go ahead and join snyk.io/community. And from there, you'll get all of the links you want to join the community. You can also join one of our chapters. We have a bunch of local chapters. If you want to talk at one of the chapters, feel free to, propose talks. We are more than happy to welcome you. Brian and Sonia, thank you so much again for your time, for your energy, for your expertise. It was a fantastic session and enjoyed it very, very much. I can't wait to schedule a new one with you. Okay.
Same here. Thank you for having us.
Okay. Thanks again. Have a good day, everyone, or a good end of your day, depending on where you're based. And talk to you soon. Bye.